struggle. Ghost, who does do from worse, they're going to have a little bit of trouble as well. But just about everybody else could be pretty happy. Dignitas has been the only team dropping in the northern area of the map kind of repeatedly. They really like the Severny area. Curious to see if we see any other teams potentially do that. We saw a couple of teams kind of go around Stolberg and Mishki in round 1 and 2 earlier today, but it's kind of become a no man's land up there now.
For Dignitas, they've had an okay start, but not quite getting the traction that they need, and that northern end of the map. Speaking of looking at AT, I should say, as he descends into this last round of today. What an amazing, he pulled out something that we haven't really expected from them, losing their players so early, especially Andy, again, going out very early in the game. 8C, back-to-back times having to sneak in behind Tempo Storm.
I know, and he did such a great job on this last round. Performs, steps up into a second place spot for his team. We saw him kind of doing this in the round right before that, where he was just doing such a good job on tailing. I gotta say, he has to have a ton of practice at that. He seems to know how to keep like the perfect distance out. He seems to know whenever people start taking shots.
And no one seems to turn and look at like the right time.
He's always using the shots so that way he can like cover his footsteps and come up back behind him. It's so well played every single time.
He is the zone whisperer, just dancing behind the enemy lines there. So for AT and the rest of Method on the back of his performance have found themselves with some okay placement so far. They are in that Pachinki region. Totality having a decent run as well. But again, looking at Vitality, I think they're in last place at this stage.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I know it's not necessarily where they want to be at.
No, no one wants to be that far down the leaderboard, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because that means that everything comes down to tomorrow. And let's be honest, at that point you have to pray for everybody to start failing and then for you to usurp them. And so we're about halfway through with the event once this round is done. So it's got to be now. You've got to start making all of your changes. You have to start making these adaptations because that's what PUBG is about. It's about learning from every single round, coming back through and saying, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this pathing or some type of variant. And I just need to see a little bit more changes coming from Vitality.
And believe it or not, FaZe only 2 spots ahead on the back half of the leaderboard, somewhere they are not used to occupying. Cloud9 having a decent run as well. I mean, all these North American teams have come to play.
Yeah, and I'll have to say it's kind of surprising. Usually we tend to expect to see EU at the top of the leaderboard with a couple of surprise visits from some NA guys, like we expected Ghost to be hanging out in that area. Tempo Storm, known for just constantly performing. If there's 2 teams that we know are just consistent, it's Knights and Tempo Storm. This time around, Tempo Storm's been doing pretty well, but Ghost has been kind of struggling.
And really, I guess the question now, at least for me, is: are these teams that have, Knights? They're having a much better faring so far. But for a team like Ghost, they've qualified for Berlin. Are they maybe looking too far ahead, not focusing on the games ahead?
Well, you could almost say that there's a certain factor that's coming into this about readaptation. Because again, we talked about it whenever they did qualify for PGI NA, they had 2 members from Envy that was on their team. And we're seeing Envy really perform today. 2 wins. They got 20 kills in one of those rounds.
They brought the energy back with them almost.
It's almost like they picked up the win from PGI and they're carrying it harder than Ghost is.
And I mean, they have something to prove. We've been talking about how Ghost in their previous form in that qualifier, playing with some of the best players in North America, performed so well. I think they took that back to their teams, but maybe not translating as well for Ghost as it has for Envy.
Well, there was also this running story as well with the PGI North American EU qualifiers where we saw a lot of repeat winners inside the EU side. It was predominantly like Liquid performing very well. It was a lot of these guys like Welcome to South George. They were returning, just getting win after win back to back. Meanwhile, in North America, there were a lot of rounds before we had repeat winners come into play. And so it kind of becomes this narrative of what was going on with the North American scene versus what was going on with the EU scene. How did those strengths measure out? And a lot of people were thinking that, hey, EU has to be a stronger region because of the way that their performance went. Now we're starting to see NA competing against a lot of those same guys that competed in the EU. They're performing very well today.
I wonder if it's a clash of styles to an extent. I would say, I mean, at least from an observation standpoint, that NA seems to play, or at least NA-based teams, seem to play a little bit more erratically, not as predictable in their rotations. They will stop mid-rotation and take a fight if they have to, whereas most European teams, FaZe specifically, will just truck through rotations regardless of pressure that they find, and maybe that's starting to cost them.
Well, we're seeing a lot of the teams that opt into, I guess, more passive early games having trouble today. Ghost is another one of those teams. They love to play the edge and then move in late. That's just not working against a lot of these teams that are just coming in to run and gun, and they want to make statements and performances. And I got to say, it's really paying off for them.
Poonage looking towards the crate. Oh, maybe spotting check shooter. Looking that direction, doesn't see the, oh, he does see venerated. Taking that shot, he wanted to jump out and grab that crate, but he's been burned once before. Punage not willing to risk jumping out into that open field to grab the crate. He's going to back that off. So Envy now returning, now in North George, but in familiar territory.
Well, we're starting to see. It used to be like this big bait. Whenever you saw one of these crates come down, nobody wanted to go for it because it was too much of a bloodbath. But now we're seeing that all the level 3s have been switched over inside of the crates. It forces you to take those interactions. It forces you to go, okay, is this worth the risk? And really going in and going after it. Meanwhile, we've got Gates over here. Again, performed great in North America. They're going to be driving up right over here next to Method. And Method's, you can tell, Method wants to take these shots.
Let's see if they can all stay alive.
Air's coming through on this. But it's only 2 coming around the outside of it. XCOM doesn't even have his gun out yet. Gets dropped. Rathy goes down in return, though.
They traded, so that's a nice start to this fight for both teams. Method, actually, I don't think there's any supporting cast there for them. Rafi all by himself. 80 and the rest of the squad still in Pachinki. Nothing to be done. So this is going to be another situation. Method losing 1 and the first player out of the game.
It's going to be going over to Team Gates. Meanwhile, we've got Cloud9 running right up in between them. Guys from Tempo Storm trying to, like, get back together. Hey, maybe he was looking at different angles.
Eyes on the road, my friend.
Hey, he's not on a road. So I guess if maybe he did have his eyes on the road.
Fair enough. Yeah,
the road was to the north.
Or
he was looking the wrong way.
he needs a navigator. Dre will make it through. Alliance actually arriving on scene just behind the Chopsticks region. Maybe a spot they want to stop, but Envious rolling through today so far. They've had a terrific performance. And now they're looking to try and close this first day out. 6 more games tomorrow. But Envy jumping out to the start is a little bit surprising to me.
One of these things that I've noticed, though, is we're seeing a reoccurring storyline that's happening between Tempo Storm and Envy. Tempo Storm, again, being the model of consistency that's really performing for them. It's coming out really well, getting them good spots on the leaderboards, not getting the round wins. That's the way Tempo Storm plays. But they keep coming into contact with Envy. They're always near each other on the map. Like right now, you can see that they're about 2,000 meters away from each other at the direct time. But we've got FaZe making their way inside the circle much earlier.
Middle, very early.
Much early. I love to see this adaptation coming from FaZe. They realized that their late rotations were really hurting them, so now they're just like, nope, let's just go for it. Meanwhile, Space Station Gaming doing really well in the leaderboards, losing a member real early.
So again, and these rotations a little bit more active than we've seen in the past in the 16-team meta. So with FaZe arriving early, grabbing onto a nice compound just near the school, they've centered up. This is the time for them to try and change. They did have one decent placement so far. They've played this position in the past. A lot of natural cover to move around, but for now, I think they've arrived so early, not much to look at.
This is one of their default locations they like to play around. I mean, this is even the location that is probably known as one of the best PUBG plays. It's up there. And where they did that motorcycle transition. I just want to see how FaZe reacts and plays around this. Because again, we talked about it. Play terrain pieces if you have faith in your shooters. And they're in a great spot for it. An odd adaptation that came through is that we can see that Method did that push-up. They were trying to get a little bit of scouting information on it. They're trying to go back out again,
they're not going to leave.
And then now they're just going to come back to Pachinki. We've been seeing them play very aggressive catch positions, and this time around they're going to go, no, let's just stay inside of Pachinki and see how this plays.
It really seems like they've been playing catch-up as well, because there's just those early games for Method have been very messy today, but really on the back of individual plays have not been too bad considering how their games have started. The Knights also forming up on scene, trying to find a spot to land, still headed towards that center of the play zone. Vitality choosing to stay in Milta just a little bit longer. And going back to Vitality, since it's just so perplexing to me how poorly they've been performing, they have not changed at all. They have not changed anything about their game, and I think teams have adapted around them as Texas gets involved. K-Mind coming across the ridge, jumping out, nothing landing just yet. He will survive so far, but he will go down as Drayden comes with support. The rest of Energy still in their vehicles behind Nerf Me Please, playing as a stand-in, has to skirt around the vehicle, getting more and more damage. He's just trying to get away from that withering fire, but he will not, and he will go down that long-range headshot. The Knights picking up a nice, easy 3 kills to start this game.
And that just hurts if you're NRG. They've been trying to struggle. Well, they've been struggling through the leaderboard. They really want to try to make a better statement on it. They are sitting pretty decently in the middle, and they keep getting this cusp where they can almost move up, and then they just have it taken away from them.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they modify for day 2, because they keep getting so close.
They've dropped Wooly from the roster, or maybe it was a mutual parting of ways, but they have made an adjustment. Nerf Me Please coming in from Nova. Nova playing well in their own right, but now with Wooly, I believe, acting as the IGL being changed up. That's a big change ahead of a tournament.
Now we've got Ghost in transition. Looks like they might be eyeing either going over towards Everest. They like to play the same building complex that we see Envy at, but that's going to be Proppy getting dropped real early inside of this round as well. That's going to be bad news for Ghost.
So looking at Ghost, Profi going down early, something we've seen in the past. I think he's cleaned it up as of late. The rotations from Profi in that lead vehicle can be messy from time to time. But that's Envy again, getting involved and active early. Really, is it a matter of luck, Matrim?
Yes and no. If you can get to these points and positions that you think that people are going to be moving through, it's necessarily hoping that somebody comes in that area. Sometimes it pays off for you, sometimes it doesn't. Like we've seen it come around different points that we know are very strong positions to play. Where Envy played at is a very popular point. So you know that people could be going around the Everest area, somebody could be taking that road next to you, they could be going down through the Badlands. There's a lot of different paths that you can come through there that gives a lot of strength for it. So
I think FaZe is still looting.
They come through there.
I think FaZe is still having to loot. They've left their loot spot so early. I think Fuzz maybe being a little cautious, trying to check out the school, anybody home, seeing if he can hear any footsteps. No resistance yet, mainly because there's nobody there. Space Station Gaming more interested in the movement of Knights, them holding on to the apartments. The rest of FaZe not necessarily in a split setup right now, but they're trying to take as much ground as possible. Totality spotting the vehicles, trying to disable them at long distance. For FaZe, Matrim, holding these 3 separate compounds, all by essentially split from each other. Wise decision being so close to the center of the zone.
Well, one, you get more control over the area. So specifically, they do like to play this area of the map. Now they're separated out. They can get controlled depending on different path points that we could talk about like we were just a second ago. They're trying to get into some form of control. You can see that they're doing a little bit of damage control at this stage. Separate out, play a little bit safe. The downside to it is if somebody crashes your complexes. Yimty is out in the middle, or Jimty I should say, is out in the middle where nobody's probably going to crash him. Fuzzface is inside of school where if somebody crashes along the wall, he'll have plenty of time to react and reposition if need be.
Have we settled on Jempty? Are we going away from Yempty?
It goes back and forth. Some people say Jempty, sometimes he says Jempty, sometimes he says Yempty.
Yeah, he switches it up on you.
One time he said it just bothers me because whenever people that aren't from where I'm from try to say Yempty, it sounds bad. So I'm going to stop trying to say it poorly and just lean into
speaking with
Jempty.
a Finnish accent is nearly impossible from anyone not from Finland. So I guess, I mean, speaking as a whitewashed North American, I suppose it's more difficult for me. But regardless, Team Gates in rotation, arriving next to Moldman, has to back it off. Again, these two teams meeting each other in the center of the play zone. Team Gates having arrived early. Mossy shooting. Moldman wants to step up, take some shots himself. Nothing lands. Andy with the follow-up grenade. He will try and make that thing count. Bounces very close to the back line. Doesn't do too much damage. The nade returns from Team Gates. Will it land true? No. It's just a dodgeball fight out here on the hillsides, as Team Gates now getting flanked by C9, and Scylla will be stolen by Hypoc.
And you can see everybody now just goes in full-on damage retreat. Guys from Time for Gates are trying to connect over there. Meanwhile, off in the distance, we can see that Exco does actually get a run over, but he lands right next to Method, just gets torn apart. We're going to see a res potentially try to come out from the guys from Cloud9 as they try to regroup.
That's a dangerous res. They're on this hillside. Lots of eyes on their position, but it's just withering fire coming onto Team Gates. Exco is down. Mortify is wounded. Andy Pyro looking to finish, and he will come across, grab one, but he has to back off. He knows that there's more eyes looking at him. AC gets the res on the Moldman. AC trying to pop up as well. Hypoc on the long side flank. You can see he's got the line of sight, but Moldman really wants to finish this team off. They're right below him. The sprays come out.
Look at this. They just keep retreating, regenerating health, stepping back forward, taking a couple more shots, cycling that through, realizing maybe it's a little bit too hot, so retreat back off of it. The guys from Optic taking some long-range pot shots, denying the vehicles, all about denial of resources at this stage. Make them burn through the meds, knock off their armor, knock off their helmets, take out their vehicles.
Hypoc's worried about Cloud9. He knows there's a team on the other side of that hill, and he wants to kill. Andy has only one switch, and it is a killing switch. He wants to jump across, try and take out Team Gates. He must be out of grenades at this stage, but they're getting so much pressure, and he's taking so much damage. This is going to cost Andy later on in this game.
Yeah, we talked about it. It's an attrition war at this stage, with these pot shots going back and forth. You have to get the meds. I almost think that's why Method wants this. They want to step back down, but even if they get the kills, there's no loot to be had because you won't have time for it. Optic in a great position, throws down the nades, doesn't connect, a little bit too far on the outside, and that's just a quick punt down. So let's see how Hypoc plays this. He is playing for an information position, too risky, retreats back.
For Hypoc, he wanted to try and grab some information there. He did get it from Cloud9. He knows there's a whole team there, but again, Optic still spread out around that Watertown area. Envy is still trying to zone FlyQuest. Tempo Storm quietly has a very strong position, picking up a nice compound in the center of the zone as this circle is closing once again. Method has taken a ton of damage here. Do you think they're playing just a little bit too aggressive trying to eliminate Team Gates?
I think they just they want control over the area around them. They know that Gates is there. They know that there's a lot of people taking pot shots. At any given moment, Gates can just step over that hillside and maybe kill them. They don't want that risk. They don't want that factor right next to them. They know that there's going to be some pot shots, so it becomes risky for anybody to step up either way. So at this point, Method is just on nerves at any given moment. Any nade coming out from Gates could be killer.
Do you think FaZe wants that next ridge? If they take the next ridge, they kind of expose their rear flank, but that would open them up for a ton of kills. Wow!
Oh.
Hedgeroar takes Mossy off the motorcycle with the Car 98. Method will steal the kill, however, so nice shot, but no reward. Incredible shot from Hedgeroar.
You can tell so many teams do not expect this area to be this hot at this
Yeah,
stage of the
crazy.
game. You see a couple of guys that will come in and play this Badlands area, but for this many teams to be stacked here is insane. It's just a bloodbath as everybody has different line of sights and taking pot shots back and forth.
So for Hedgeroar, landing the shot, not getting the kill. Team Gates and Method are still sharing this little hillside area. FaZe, I think, wants to push that ridge, but they know that they'll completely expose themselves from the rear. Vitality is on the hill around Pachinki. This whole region is just completely tangled. There's no real laneway to move anywhere. As we're about to see a shift, really, that's going to dictate the back half of this game.
And it just sticks right here in the Badlands. So we're going to have a couple of teams that are going to have to move in. Really, it's just going to be Envy, FlyQuest, NRG, Space Station Gaming with a little bit of trouble there. Nice shots coming out from Exete, getting a down onto Sharp Shot, going for a couple of peaks here. But it should be an easy res to come through, all things considered. But I think it comes down to where does Envy and FlyQuest, where do they decide to go to? What path is safe for them to try to play around? Because there's not a lot left.
Andy jumped up and tried to get that flank once again. Molman having to play support, but it is Mortified being finished. Andy does go down. That's another loss for Method. And now FaZe has taken that front ridge. They want to start getting aggressive here. Hexet's got that M24. He knows there's teams in front of him, but he doesn't have line of sight. He does have the protection from the rear. It's Fuzzface and Mixie holding onto the compound behind. They've got this new shift. They didn't want to do anything aggressive before they saw that new circle. Matchroom for FaZe. Is this the time where they try and come alive for kills, or they want to try and play for placement?
I think they just hold control of this area. They have so much. They have such a good position. They just need to take a couple of pot shots. They need to get some control over it. They need to kill the area everything that's around them. With the amount of teams that are still up and alive, it's very dangerous to cross that Badlands area. You don't want to push into it because the moment you do, you're just going to be in a hail of bullets.
So we have seen Team Gates go out as our first team eliminated. NVS has decided they want to do a full swing all the way around the southern portion of the play zone. They're going to get away from that pressurized area, but really there's so many teams alive still. Steezy and the rest of FlyQuest are now getting pressure from Alliance Sigsy with that M16 and the AK following up once again. As the rest of FaZe is just kind of around this middle area. I really feel like they could do some damage, but I don't want them to get too separated.
Yeah, it's all about a level of control that we can see to come through. I know I've been saying control, control, control. Whenever you deal with an area like this, that's what you have to do. You have to make sure that nobody can encroach into your area. And that's why we're seeing a lot of long-range shots come through. Tempo still holding a pretty good location inside of this. Nice, safe inside the circle. Looks like Envy's going to finally make their path in. They're going to pop into that lower area around Pachinki.
This next shift is, again, going to dictate, like, no one really had to move. Envious has actually stopped on the very far southern portion of Pachinki. And really now, depending on this shift, it's going to become a mad dash for the center. And Cloud9, even though they've received a ton of pressure, are dead center. Method also there. Optic, there as well. Really, Matchroom, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, I mean, Optic's got a nice area that they can play around. Nobody's really probably going to push in the Sunken City area, or we like to call it now Waterworld.
Okay, that's rude.
I know. Old joke that I'm going to bring back up there.
Please don't.
We got Space Station Gaming. They're in a great point that they can play around. Still, we're seeing Method. They managed to disengage out as Gates did get taken down there.
As far as energy is concerned, they have 2 left. They are sharing this hillside with Totality. They're on the northern portion. Optic looking that way. Optic has been staying cautious. They haven't been reaching out and getting that rolling movement that we've seen from in the past. That last game being a perfect example of when they get too committed, they wind up getting picked apart from behind, especially by Totality. Envy has decided to move through Pachinki as a unit. Vitality just ahead on that Church Hill.
Well, now it's where it gets really explosive, Moses. Everybody's got their little areas they're playing around. 54 people alive. Some nice nades coming out. Look at this. Totality still being aggressive. They want to try to get something off this. Nade does come down, does connect, doesn't get the down. Pitalo under a lot of pressure here, but everybody's going to kind of retreat back. Everybody's biding their time. It's just a couple more seconds before the next safe zone pops, and this is where transitions are going to be so big.
For all of you at home, it's really important to hold on to that hillside ridge, but we're going to toss it over to Dave, who's, again, back with Team Gates, finding themselves eliminated first.
All right, once again, we are going to find ourselves with the first eliminated team.
Hello? So, that first series didn't really go as the way I expected. We had 2 dead last, I think 2 fifth place, and I forget what the other place one was. But our last game, we started off strong, like we knew Method was doing their thing, like solo looting those 2 compounds, so we decided to punish them on that. Turns out like that worked, but other things later in the game didn't, and it's just things aren't falling into place, but we still got another day. We're only halfway through, so we'll bounce back once again, like I said. It's just a rough first day. It's all good, though.
All right, back to the casters.
Thank you, Dave. And again, not to start. Team Gates wanted another tough finish for them. Totality and Energy still kind of dancing with each other. As, again, Method staying active here. Cloud9 in rotation in vehicles late. I mean, relatively late considering how many teams are still alive. Method has been a huge factor in this game, but have not been able to get any traction. They find themselves in the circle once again. FaZe in a decent position, but now everyone on that right side of the play zone has to either drive or run to the new zone.
You can tell Cloud9's trying to gather information right now. There's shots coming in everywhere around Stab. He's just trying to get some smokes down, trying to get some idea of what's happening around him. As you can just hear shot after shot. The guys from Alliance hard pushing down to this. Looks like they're trying to get the res under reels. That's going to let the guys right next to Cloud9 next to them. If he comes out of this smoke, this could be huge.
There's not a lot of cover. Moody is there wide and aware. Vitality and Envious have tangled up in Pachinki on that southern side. Vitality does have the zone, but now it's all about Alliance trying to avoid any withering fire. Vitality trying to keep Envious away from them. The jumping shots! Wow, Shiv not reacting in time. He will get taken down and finished. Envious rolling through Vitality.
Look at this. Envy is now coming to play. They're coming alive. They're getting control over this. They're stepping out forward. Only Araxes is still up for Vitality. The guys from Envy are going to want to try to hard push, get control over this area. There are a couple of other squads, though, that are still inside of here. Space Station Gaming did just hear this. They could come back up behind this. Play spoiler onto Envy, but looks like they're going to retreat back out, try to take a different path. Meanwhile, Vitality hops into a vehicle and just out.
Mixie trying to get that initial down onto the Knights. They've shared this area. These are 2 heavy-hitting teams right next to each other. FaZe having backed off that ridge. You can see how they move as a team now. They're trying to find a team fight. Now the Knights aware of those grenades, checking to see who is throwing grenades at us.
Well, this is a fight we see on a regular basis. Knights versus FaZe.
Yeah.
This is like one of the tried and true EU fights that happens. These guys love to fight each other. It's always a solid performance whenever it happens. You can see that we've got Check Shooter now holding that high forward position.
Did Araxi
looking off in the
away?
distance.
What happened to Araxi? Oh,
he jumped in a vehicle and drove off. Remember?
He was
out. He was like, nope, don't have anything to do with this.
So they've left their teammate behind. Another kill picked up by Envious, and now Araxi looking back toward his fallen teammates. Actually, he's looking at FaZe. Yempty holding on to this high side ridge. He just does not care who's looking at him. Maybe trying to base some shots.
Oh, he spotted him.
He spots him from long distance. Araxi has to run tail between his legs just to get away from the watchful eyes of Yempty.
At this point, it's all about damage control. He's just going to be like, nope, just try to survive.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to take the pot shots. There's just so many bullets that are going off around him. See FaZe starting to come into their comfort area. They really, really want to explode inside of this round. They feel like they have a good spot and the way to do it. They still have 4 people up in active, which is what they've been having a lot of trouble with.
Araxi is in the rain right now. He's got no umbrella. He's just stuck where he is. No more vehicle. Tempo Storm knows where he is. FaZe knows where he is. Knights have to have an idea. Method still holding on to their 2 players. I didn't see the total kills there, but for Method, they've been just holding on desperately, but Optic slowly encroaching on their territory. And now we're going to shift a little bit further south. This is going to favor Envious and SSG. FaZe has the opportunity to push the gap, but they'll have to go through the Knights to take it.
I think a big deciding factor will be Space Station Gaming and Envy. Envy has a good control point to play around right now. There is so much in the Badlands that's going to have to move out of this. You can see Optic's going to have to step out. All these guys are going to have to reposition. Whoever wins this fight is going to have control over a phenomenal position.
So Envy has an idea. I think they might have received a down there. It is Venerated who is down, but here come FaZe going right at the Knights. The nade comes out. The short throw comes. Nothing landing just yet. FaZe looking to flank around the ridge. That hill is protecting them from the grenades. They will roll away and make it safe. Voxic spotted by Mixie. I know the communication between these teams comes very quickly. The Knights have the advantage on the high ground.
Getting a little bit of control. You can now see that they are looking up. They're starting to do the peaks. They're starting to feel more comfortable. They want to take these pot shots. Texas is under so much duress right now. He can hear footsteps all around him. He just has to figure out when he wants to strike. Can he see any hits? Oh, he finally spots it out. Did Jimty see him as well, though?
He did.
He did. He gets the down while he was going for some help.
He went for that med, tried to escape it. They do trade, but Texas is finished. They're going to try and bail this out. There's nothing they can do. They have to move their cover with them. Voxic trying to hold the tide. Will he be able to do it? He has to duck down Krama. That transition not going to be allowed by Mixie. The covering fire does come out, but Yempty takes down Voxic. This is all phase now. Finishing down Voxic. That's Drayden, and Krama jumps back in the vehicle. Mixie trying to land those shots, and he will take him down. Knights are reeling.
At this point, I think that's all she wrote. You can see Drayden just hiding outside of there. The spray is coming through. They just want to connect. FaZe wants to get this kill. They want to feel safe. They want to make sure nothing's out around them. They're just going to take pot shot and a pot shot into this.
Drayden, the last man standing. He's in the smoke, but Fuzz says no. He tosses the grenade in. FaZe with a relatively easy team wipe on the Knights. That's 2 heavy hitters. We did see Envy get eliminated by Space Station Gaming. A nice pickup for them. Tempo Storm now, and Optic just... This zone is boiling. Look at the north end. It's just completely a mess.
We have Optic that's in a little bit of a gatekeeping position right now. The Dignitas guys trying to make their way down, push through them, as you can see on the minimap down there. A lot of these teams still need to push. The circle is coming up right behind them, but again, there's nowhere really good to play. You can see that Zampa from Tempo Storm is right next to Moody and the guys from Cloud9 because there's just not a lot of good cover pieces to play in that low ground position.
Dignitas is in trouble. Dignitas is in trouble. They have the zone at their backs, Optic at their front. They're going to run right into the Thresher here. Kaint looking for any information. Oh, he spots Optic, not looking in his direction, but luckily Steezy on the long side hill can see him from so far away, and that is absolute horror for Dignitas.
And this is the bloodbath. This is where everybody just has to run. It's all about spin, get the shot, push your way down. The guys from Optic are just trying to make something happen here. They need to get these guys from Dignitas down. Everybody's just running on different sides of the hill.
They
Look how
let
many
him
people have. We have so many people with helmets, lost armors. It's going to be so dangerous.
For Optic, they allowed Dignitas to get all the way around, even though Dignitas has taken a ton of damage from FlyQuest. Luckily for Optic, Optic being so distracted, they did get the res onto Valiate. They are going to stay strong here as Hetra actually goes down. FlyQuest is playing a huge role in the end of this game. A grenade now landing next to them. Oh my god, that is Valiate and a Hypoc both going down. Tempo Storm is absolutely decimating them. Zampa pushing. This is insane push by Tempo.
It's all about the third parties from here on out. You can see that it's just wide out and in the open. Zampa is trying to get control over this area. There's so many squads that are just hunkering down behind one little hill. Look how many people are down.
Last standing.
Baja's up and alive, but he doesn't want to step forward. It's too risky to go for any of those. Dignitas is going to be able to get at least one res out of it, though.
Tempo Storm played very aggressive. It did cost them one player. Zampa has to back this off. Baja now playing the clutch reser. Hetra the first one to come up. That was only Hetra able to be res. Dignitas in the same boat on the other side. Wookie Bookie trying to get this res started. FlyQuest is, oh my god, he's right in front of him.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I was going to say, surely they had to see those feet sticking out there. That's not like a big bush to hide behind there.
Not 8C. Not 8C's got the magic touch, unfortunately for Alliance. Ghost has been quiet, but they're still in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Ghost has been playing off of a very passive role. You can see that they did lose Profi very early inside of this. Meanwhile, Tempo Storm's being loud and in charge. They're not afraid to take these fights. It does look like one of the reses did manage to happen for the guys from Optic.
FaZe has high
see
ground
Baja
too.
can be seen. Shots do come out from there. But now we're seeing FaZe come alive. They're just going aggressive on this hillside looking for kills.
Little concerned about Space Station Gaming coming in behind them. They have 3 headed right for them. FaZe has all eyes pointed at Optic. Space Station Gaming is coming right in behind them. Meanwhile, Dignitas, Tempo, Storm, all there as well, still dealing with this area. Space Station Gaming does land the first down.
This is going to be dangerous. Whoever takes the first shots here are going to give away the position for the other squads. So you can see it's going to be the Optic guys. They want to peek back up, but it's going to be Zampa, not afraid to take the shots, and it's going to be Dignitas' Wookie that pops up on the other side of it.
Who would have thought that Optic ends up with a loser there? They had a full squad. Unfortunately, let Dignitas get around them, and it comes back to haunt them as Dignitas wipes them out.
Let's see if Tempo can get this kill on it. You can see that Zampa is in a great position. The moment that Dignitas guys step over and forward, he can just catch them. Meanwhile, FaZe, they cannot oversee what's happening in every part of the map right now. They can see everywhere.
FaZe having dealt with one down already. Tempo Storm, there's just so much action on north and south end of the map. Zampa still holding strong. They did get the down, But really, the edges of the play zone are still alight as FaZe is under pressure, Tempo Storm under pressure. FlyQuest, however, I think has really been playing an interesting role here. They're shooting at everybody.
And now we have the circle pop onto this, and it's going to be Dignitas getting taken down by FlyQuest. FlyQuest very active on the side of the circle, but FaZe gets control of the circle.
They do have the ridge. They've received a ton of pressure. However, they have not gone unscathed. Haxet is stuck by himself. Space Station Gaming's flank continues. They do have the low side. Space Station Gaming would have to come over that ridge to them. Now, FaZe, is, I believe, is going to go defensive here. They're not going to try anything crazy to try and get Haxeti up. But this is where they try and maintain this precarious position where they're on this ridge. This whole side flank is wide open on. Oh, they're going to go for the res.
Go for the res. They have control over it. This hill is very awkward to play around. They don't want to play down that low ground area. Meanwhile, Space Station is totally fine. They want to hold this upper area, but they need to move down. Pushing down this hillside is so dangerous.
Running downhill, no less, into FaZe is going to be extremely difficult. Zampa on the very far edge has taken the position of Optic and Dignitas. He has to move as well, but he does have natural cover. FlyQuest being so active, they have to decide. Now they're out of choices. They have to push through these trees. Do they go up on the hill and try and take out Space Station and Ghost, or do they just try and use the trees as cover and move towards FaZe?
It looks like we can see smokes coming out. It looks like they're just going to cut a straight line over and through, which could put them at a great angle to take some shots at FaZe if FaZe gets caught into a fight with Space Station or Ghost. Ghost is the one that's in the, I guess, oddest position out of all of this.
Passive.
They have to crawl and they have to move, but they have to get some type of positioning because there's two squads that are ahead of them. They're about to be pushed from two different angles if they're not careful.
H-Win now taking on the role of the Snake himself. Smurf 10Fs on the flank, looking towards FaZe. They have to crest this ridge. There's no choice. The grass is not going to give enough cover. Smurf having by himself no trade available. D-Master on the right side as well. Zampa, oh, he's taken out, unfortunately. Steezy BB. The watchful eye of Steezy has played a huge role in this game, Matrim.
He's got a nice position off to the side of this, and he's just been dictating every single fight that's been happening in the Badlands. As you can see, Tempo Storm is now out. Space Station finally gets line of sight on the guys from FaZe. They know the work is cut out for them. They have to make the push down, but now the fight's starting to explode on the side of it as FlyQuest just runs right up into FaZe. Mexi's trying to find somewhere to go, but Microstar has such a great angle and drops to his belly at the perfect moment.
Haxet is still there as well. Fuzzface is down. The nade going to come out, try and finish. D-Master has an opportunity now to run down and try and finish off FaZe. Looking to see where he is. They're looking at the edges of the zone, not looking in the right spot just yet.
This is where he was taking the fight. He didn't know that somebody third-partied on this, and now FlyQuest, again with the third party, catches him, takes him down, but it's going to be Mixie that gets the kill.
They didn't think about FlyQuest, Matrim. They just saw FaZe get flanked, but they ran down the hill anyway. FlyQuest now the benefactor. Ghost having to try and erode at the backside, but it's all about FlyQuest. Space Station Gaming, the last man standing. 2 left for FaZe. And now the circle has gone towards FaZe. They have to be patient here.
They still have control over the circle. FlyQuest has to make their way down the hillside, but it's not as evil as a push as we would have to see coming from Space Station. Now it's a matter who can get the right angles on it. You can see Microstar knows exactly where they are. FlyQuest can play this with more knowledge than FaZe can.
But they're running out of cover, Matrim. They're running out of cover. They have to run straight at them. So now it's a matter of how much utility is left. What do you have left in the gas tank? But FlyQuest has 11 kills.
FaZe is just laying down at this point.
They have to wait.
They're just waiting, so that's allowed FlyQuest. You can see they're just running around. They're just trying to get as much information, as much control as they can. FaZe has kind of surrendered that by laying down in the safe spot.
If FlyQuest spots H-Win first and shoots those shots, they're going to know now, oh, H-Win has to be careful. That zone's ticking very quickly. That's
that might be it.
Oh, very close. Oh, no, he didn't reload.
Doesn't do anything with
What are you doing?
This is so bad for him now. Is he going to take the shots?
Oh, my God. What a misplay. He
It's
reloaded with 2 shots. Oh my God, H-Win messed that up a little bit. Now FlyQuest on the high side, however, they know they're there. Mixie looking up that way. They're grouped up together. Mixie spraying one down.
Gets the one. Steezy is now down. Microstar going for a phenomenal flank. He has to make sure that Sharky keeps attention up.
Here comes
Goes
that
with
flank.
the switch. Does he see it? Can he connect the shots? But we do see one coming down. This is a 2v1 situation. Can Mixie hit the shots onto it? And yes, he can.
Oh, Mixie just is not able to get. They were too far apart. Sharky on the high side trades, and FlyQuest grabs that game and runs away with it.